I kind of vowed that I would never come back from the experience. I was like, okay, I've been there, done it, never coming back. The name of the game is networking and collaboration. The luxury network being business to business. Growing up, I was always an enthusiast of luxury with my own generation, friends. Also, you got jet skis over here. Like, what's going on here? You know, Grupo Dia is a Spanish national supermarket chain. We opened about 7.5 stores in like 18 months. Nigeria's fastest growing supermarket chain. Most of our leadership team were flown to Spain to get training. So that presented great opportunities, but also problems as well, because now other companies are poaching our staff, the devaluation of Naira. We brought in this brand in 2015. 2016, Nigeria went into recession. So today, people still ask me like, what happened?
Hi everyone, I'm Izini Zara and you're welcome to the DBIN Podcast, the show where we explore the untold stories of what it really takes to run a business in one of the world's most dynamic markets and Africa's biggest economy. Our guest today is someone who has taken the art of luxury to a whole new level in Nigeria. Dr. Samuel Abiola-Jacobs is the Managing Director of the Luxury Network Nigeria, a private membership club that brings together some of the world's most prestigious brands to collaborate, innovate, and create unmatched experiences for high net worth clients. Today we'll dive into his story, how he got started, the lessons he's learned, the challenges he's overcome, and his vision for the future of his businesses in Nigeria. Hi, Dr. Sam. Where is the doctor from?
Okay, so actually, I think it was like 2 years ago, I was recognized for my work that I've done over, the last 2 decades and so. So Miles Leadership University reached out to me saying that, they've been following my journey, and I was selected for a few individuals that they'd like to recognize as part of the university. It's a leadership university. So I was given an honorary doctorate. I was conferred an honorary doctorate by Miles Leadership University, which I'm very grateful for. But, with that comes a lot of responsibility, more responsibility to be able to inspire, other entrepreneurs and also youths as well that are coming up and, be a voice, for the industry. And my hands are on a lot of things. I think we'll delve into that.
Yeah.
But I've done quite a bit, not just in business, philanthropy as well, etc. Yeah.
So for those who do not know Dr. Sam, how would you describe yourself?
Very laid back, down to earth, serious. I'm a serious person, but I'm very conscious about my time and making sure I live my best life in all different ways. So obviously impact is very important to me as well. I'm very, very passionate about youth empowerment. I'm very passionate about helping companies and individuals to be better and to be successful. I'm someone that I've sort of recognized some years ago that I want to be successful by helping others be successful. So like a servant leader, know. So I've always been in the service type of industry, and I love music. Come from a family that is very much into the music, or has talent in music, and I dabble a little bit musically as well.
Oh, really? So are we having like a soundtrack? Are we having like a mixtape dropping anytime soon?
Actually, interestingly, like in my past life, I was a DJ. I've been a choir director like many years ago. Keyboardist. I've been in the studio. I've worked. I've worked in sort of like secular transition into gospel, and so the music thing is very, very prominent in my family. I have family members and siblings that are either singers or producers or musicians, etc., etc.
But not fashion designers.
Not fashion designers, no.
So how did you
we're
get
creative, but
into
Oh, so interesting.
Yeah.
So you're saying because of the luxury side,
Yeah, because like when people think luxury, they usually think like clothes, even though you're not doing clothes.
right?
Yeah. So how did you get into the luxury network?
So clothing is just a part
Mm.
of the luxury, if you like, ecosystem, if you want to call it
Yeah.
like that, right? So, yes, when people think of luxury, they think of designer clothing, right? Interestingly, how I got into luxury was, through a friend that I've known for, over 2 decades. And she sort of was more into that
Mm.
in terms of products and services. And that's out of the UK, by the way, right? And when I sort of moved to Nigeria, she was already doing like a concierge type of service in the UK, and she wanted to expand that service to Nigerian clientele. And I happened to move to Nigeria, not move back to, because I was born and raised in the UK, but moved to Nigeria, over like going to like 14 years now, back in 2012. Moved to Nigeria when I was there. Obviously, I didn't do too bad in connecting with individuals and networking, which is what I do predominantly today. Like the name of the game is networking and collaboration. And then like when it was like 2013 or so, she wanted a partner that could, help with the entry into the Nigerian market. And that's kind of the beginning of me sort of delving into luxury. I've always been, I would say, an enthusiast of luxury. Mom, very, very much a fashionista, although she's a woman of the cloth now. But even till today, she doesn't play with the quality of her clothing. She was always made sure that her children were very well dressed. And, I would even say to an extent she was a socialite. She was always going out, she knows a lot of people, so a lot of invitations and stuff. So I'd always known about quality and, about the big brands, even from when I was in school. And then now going into sort of concierge business, and then later transitioning to now doing B2B, because the concierge service was B2C to the end customer, that's business to consumer. Now the luxury network being business to business services and support and facilitation that we're doing on that side. And now, of course, it's beyond fashion.
Yeah.
So it cuts across all sectors. Luxury is literally the upper echelon, right, of every sector. So it could be in automobiles, aviation, hospitality, you name it, even in private wealth, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really about, those consumers, the HNI, ultra HNIs, that are delving into that lifestyle and appreciate the finer things. I'll stop there for now.
So what was the first business or job you found yourself doing when you moved back to Nigeria?
So interestingly, like moving back in 2012, took a while to actually start something or get involved in business. I think because when I came, I was like coming from a point of view of, and by the way, I took for the first year coming to Nigeria, I didn't quit my job in the UK. I took a sabbatical for 1 year, believing that, in that time I would get to see how things are here and then make a decision. And at that time I moved with my family as well. And we've just seen that transition, how it would go. So I think for the first 10 months of being here, nothing was happening with me. It was okay, a lot of networking, which was great. But I think people were not sure if I was serious about being in Nigeria and staying in Nigeria. You have a lot of people that will come, a lot of expats or repats that will come, and they'll be like, yes, I want to work for you and all that. And then after a few months, they'll be like, I can't take it. And then they'll go. So I don't think people are ready to invest in people that haven't at least demonstrated that they've been here for some time or they've done something here. So it was 10 months later, I got to give a shout out to the guys that gave me my first opportunity. So shout out to the Dozier brothers, that's Chijioke and Ngozi Dozier. And when he found out that I was in retail, I had a retail background, working for, one of the largest supermarket chains in the UK. So shout out to Sainsbury's as well. Then he was like, oh my God, I've been looking for someone like this, like he's building something and this and that. Around retail, we need someone with your skills and your experience.
Wow.
And yeah, that's
Just
literally,
from a
it
conversation.
was a conversation. There wasn't even an interview,
Yeah.
nothing. It was just like we aligned, and after a few conversations and being introduced, you know, to the team, and it was both ways. It's
Yeah.
like he was selling to me and I was also selling myself as well. So it was both ways. So there was mutual value, and that's how I got involved in back again into retail in Nigeria, starting from some smaller retail outlets. There was a chain as well, and it was actually a project that we were done with in partnership with Owando, the oil company. And yeah, it was great. It was a great start for me. My office back then was on the mainland as well, in Ogba, and I got involved in quite a few things, including supply chain. So I got to relate with different workforce at different levels. It was quite tough to start because of my accent.
So it was a lot stronger then.
Because when they couldn't understand me, like I used to do training and I had my workforce that were not like educated to a high level, but maybe they were drivers and things, because working supply chain as well, right? And you would do all this talking for 1 hour, they'll be like this. Once you get feedback later, they sigh. They didn't understand anything you were saying. It's like, are you kidding me right now? So I said, what do you have to do? Okay, can you just explain to them, you know, you need to look at SOPs, standard operating procedures, and looking at customer experience and all these things, not just in my first job, but all through my career in Nigeria. It's been like that. So I had to sort of talk slowly. Then I started adopting some of the accent as well.
Yeah.
Even there was a time I even tried to adopt a bit of pidgin. I was trying
Yeah, I
to
was going
learn
to
it.
ask you if you know how to speak pidgin.
The time I was trying it, then one of my mentors warned me. Said, don't try it.
You shouldn't speak pidgin.
So don't try it. Like, you know, you're a brand, right? So you don't need to be doing that. If anything, have an interpreter if you need, you know, but don't try it. It's like, you know, you don't want to, like the accent you have is very good. And in fact,
You know he's onto something.
he is.
Yeah.
It's worked in my favor. And everywhere I've gone, I think sometimes people just pull me into meetings or just want me to be part of their company or be on their board or something, right? Just because they need somebody that can relate to someone outside of Nigeria, right? But actually later I thought actually it's just an asset, right?
Yeah.
It's an asset.
It's a selling point.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you just take what you have and you use it, you know, for your advantage and to help others as well, right? So that's where I am right now. So
did you start out with the consulting company? Like, was that when you now started the, you know, consulting company after that conversation?
So where consulting came in is like, I would say, okay, it wasn't my last corporate role, but I would say my last major corporate role was when I was now recruited, headhunted, into a company called First Master Retailers. And they acquired the master franchise for Grupo Dia. Grupo Dia is a Spanish international supermarket chain with 8,000 stores at the time globally. And we acquired the master franchise through First Master Retailers. And I was brought in as the chief operating officer, right? Now, going through that experience, and I think, you know, I was in that role for over 4 years and building it from scratch. So it was literally an idea, you know, and the founder, the CEO, he's now my very, very good friend, business partner, you know, mentor as well. Very, you know, very close. It's my brother now, and we do a lot of other projects today. He brought me in and just let me run it the way I wanted to, because I was the one that had the retail experience. He really invested in me. Let me just say that. He invested in me in terms of allowing me to really have the freedom to build it in a way that I understood, giving me context, you know, from the sort of local environment, and, you know, getting the support of the board as well, etc. Some of the board members are also now my friends. The journey, that I think was the biggest learning, because we brought in this brand in 2015. 2016, Nigeria went into recession. And then it became an uphill push, as they say. it was a whole lot going on because the brand was very strong. We were recorded as Nigeria's fastest growing supermarket chain at the time. We opened about, I say 7.5 stores in like 18 months.
Wow.
It was unheard of.
Yeah.
Across Lagos, as far as Ikorodu, right? And we were building something very, very unique. And it was built on a soft discounting model. So it wasn't about having too many products, but having enough where we could really bring international products at local prices and stuff. And of course, we had local goods as well. It was a fantastic brand. Till today, people still ask me like, what happened? Like, it was so successful. And what really happened was, of course, the devaluation of Naira. Part of the franchise, master franchise agreement, it required us to, import the Spanish products. We had some products that were private label as well. And when we couldn't now meet up to that because of the whole economic situation, it brought a lot of pressure on the business. Apart from that as well, being a Spanish brand as well, had to do a lot of education and a lot of marketing around that, and then investment to grow. So while we had a lot of investment that was put in at the beginning, when the country sort of took a turn, the left, then the sort of promises that we had for investment started to sort of wither away, and we had to sort of run it. So I learned a lot about running a business that was under a lot of financial constraint, and knowing how to be very conservative with spending, but spending the right places as well. How to prioritize, spending, but also how to use resources in the best way as well, and be extremely productive and ensure that our team was very productive. So everybody was like, the whole team had to learn how to multitask, make sure that no one is just time wasting. And we created a very strong, I would say, culture, which we're able to even export now. Most of our leadership team were flown to Spain to get training. So that presented great opportunities, but also problems as well, because now poaching started. Other companies like poaching our staff, things like that. But we saw it as that was our contribution.
You're very generous.
We're very generous to sort of the Nigerian narrative. And till today, a lot of people that have come through that business are very successful in their own right. So getting to the consulting side now. So when that business started suffering, we're still sort of trying to manage it. We even did some rebranding of the business as well, so that we could, we exited from the franchise agreement, rebranded it so that we could try and run it as a local, entirely local and entirely indigenous supermarket. We just tried to manage for a couple of more years. But in that time as well, I decided with some other partners as well, that let's also see how we can use what we've learned to help other supermarkets, and also use our ecosystem as well to support other supermarkets while we were still running that business. So in that sense, we were now offering consulting services. So that's where consulting. So it wasn't even my own consulting. It was actually through First Master Retailers. We said, we can actually, use our experience to make sure people don't have the same, outcome as we did. We even did interviews, like Bloomberg interviewed me, my business partner and CEO at the time, being interviewed in several things. He even did some things at LBS as well, speaking engagements, etc. So our story was known, and people wanted to use us as a case study. And interestingly, people or businesses are interested in using or having the guidance of business people that have gone through that kind of experience, even where you've had unsuccessful businesses, because there's so much learning that comes, even more learning from unsuccessful businesses than you do get from successful ones, because you know what to avoid, etc., etc. So after that, now I then decided, when we finally stop that business altogether. At least from a business to consumer side, we still sort of run the business to business side of procurement. Still do that even till today. It was time for me my partner relocated back to the US. And so I kind of had to find my way.
Yeah.
And I was trying to get other appointments, wasn't really happening. So I decided, look, like, let me just do something myself, right? And that's how the sort of consulting started. And then ever since, and that's why I know you probably want to ask people, always ask me about Hartleys and things like that. So, so the transition, Hartleys was one of my clients, consulted for them around 2019.
How did that happen? They just heard about you.
So interestingly, had already, even with the City Dia was the name we called the supermarket chain in Nigeria. So even with City Dia, we had, made some good friends and made some associates inside of the industry. So, so Hartleys, which was formerly Goodies and all that, they were going through transitions and stuff like that. So we were also talking to them about how potentially we could collaborate. And I think collaboration is the underlying theme of my whole journey. Collaboration, everything I do, and especially in Nigeria, has been through collaboration and strategic partnerships. And my consulting firm today, we specialize in strategic partnerships. A lot of people come to me because they're looking at how they can partner with other companies to grow their own companies. So, and I've kind of used that as my niche now today. So Hartleys was more from kind of like just having connections to later saying, hey, look, we know that business is having problems at the moment. Can you come and help us with our standard operating procedures? Can you come and help us with training? Because we noticed that your staff were like the best staff in Nigeria when it comes to customer service. Because another fun fact, when I came to Nigeria and I was looking at roles and stuff, there was one interview, I won't mention the supermarket. And in fact, they're not even in Nigeria anymore. But I remember, like, I went for an interview for a senior role, and they were asking me what would I bring differently. And I said, the customer experience in this country is terrible. We need customer experience. Customer experience brings loyalty, this and that, this and that, this and that. I just giving grammar, right? At the end of it, they're like, yeah, but people don't really care about customer service in this country.
People care.
At that time, 2012, it was so. So after all that speech I gave, now today is so important. Back then, they said people just want to make money and people just want to eat. They don't care. They don't care if you're rude or whatever. They just want to know they can get the products that they're looking for. And I was like, are you serious right now? And on that basis, I found it difficult because I was such a champion of customer experience. So when I started the consulting, that was the first thing I started with, customer experience. I would go and offer training services to different supermarkets that were there, new startups and existing ones, and be like, these are my services, these are the clients I've had before, this is my background in the UK, etc. And then it was from there that I started getting a headway. And then obviously started offering consulting around location. Excuse me. So that would be like in the sense of like, where should your supermarket be? There's science around where you're supposed to open a supermarket, right? Yeah, there's science.
Because if you spend all this money getting up a store and then no one is coming, it's like...
Do you know what I mean? So there's a lot of science around what side of the road you are, what kind of road, what kind of demographics you are, right? Even inside of the store, there's what you call the customer journey. When you enter, do you go left first or you go right? And what kind of product should be? So there's a whole lot that goes into it. So I find that in Nigeria, people just want to open shop. And then they realize that they're struggling because they haven't done the work and looking at the science, or even coming to consultants like myself who have gone through the up and downs and we've seen what works and what doesn't work. And you can just skip a whole lot of trauma by just speaking to us, How I now transitioned the consulting into the luxury side was, I guess, through the luxury network, which again, the luxury network being, a very big international group with over 40 offices globally, is Affinity Marketing, and recorded by the British media as the world's leading luxury affinity marketing group. And I got to learn even more about luxury, at least the business of luxury, going through that experience, which I'm till today very grateful. I'm still the MD
You're still
till
there.
today. Yeah. So I started
Yeah.
off behind the scenes,
Mm-hmm.
just supporting, the former MD then. He was a close friend of mine, and just supporting from the back and giving us support and being the man that was on ground. To then in the last sort of 3 years now, I transitioned and took over as the MD and really got really immersed. And so I did that because, the luxury network has its framework, has its model. So there were some other services that I could offer that wasn't directly via the luxury network, because that I found through talking to people that people needed. So I was like, okay, you know what, I'm going to include that as part of my consulting services. So the way it works is, is B2B. So luxury brands would become members of our platform, and then we help with introductions, help with marketing campaigns, etc., etc. And I found that some brands were not up to par yet, but there was potential and we can help them, but they're not ready for the luxury network. So I was like, okay, so how can we still, rather than telling them, sorry, come back another time, how can we still work with them? And that's where I now used AJL Consulting to sort of bridge that gap as well, and just say that, look, I can consult you and help you to get, tell you what are the different elements that you need to incorporate into your brand, into your company for you to be at that level.
Yeah.
And so I've been doing that for a few years now.
What are some of the other challenges that you have encountered trying to build your businesses here in Nigeria?
Oh, there's a whole lot of challenges, whole lot of challenges. I think human capital, that's building your workforce, the skill acquisition. So there's one side of having the required skills or experience or exposure for what you're trying to build. Then there's even the other side of integrity and, competencies and all of that stuff. So I think that's, in fact, a big thing. Can you find reliable, colleagues that will join you? Fortunately, because of a lot of bad experiences, I think I have a gift now for picking them, for picking good ones. Like you see, like my team now, they're the best, and like I get a lot of good reviews from my clients just about my team. But it didn't just happen like that, and it's not by chance or by luck. It's by actually having to go through a lot of these. And I think that's an underlying thing, again, I wanted to point out when I was giving you sort of the background story. Like, you have to really be successful, in Nigeria and do business well, you have to have a lot of grit. You have to have a lot of perseverance. You have to have patience. You have to be really invested in what you're doing, and you have to love people. Like, especially when you come from a place where maybe the skills set is not there. When I came to Nigeria, we hardly had modern trade. Modern trade was less than 5% penetration, right, into the economy. So what does that mean? Is that you're talking about recruiting people that have never worked in a modern supermarket before. They don't even know what they're doing. You're training them from scratch, which is why we had to send people to Spain, for example, to even see what great looks like. Do you even know what good looks like? What great looks like? And just watching it on TV is not enough.
I was going to say, wouldn't a movie suffer as well as
right? So honestly, it's like you have to go through a lot of pain to get. I don't think anything good comes easy, right? That expression of the diamond, it's dirty and goes. Like, everybody knows that expression. It's like, I think, you have to pay the price if you really want to build something not just successful, but sustainable.
That's true.
And that stands the test of time. And if there's anything I can say about my journey that is consistent, and this is not just me shooting my own horn, this is like when hearing it consistently from people, is that my consistency and my integrity, I don't play with that, especially integrity. What I do is what I say I'm going to do is what I do. Being honest, not trying to, do things under the table. I'm very transparent sometimes to my own detriment, because by now, to be honest, I could have been a billionaire, right? A billionaire by now, because of the opportunities that have been put on the table in front of me. But because of my character and I'm thinking about my name and longevity, I've had to decline a lot of things, you know.
And I can imagine some of
Yeah, but you can imagine, right?
Yeah.
But what happens is that it catches up with you. All those things that you made the right decision not to partake in catches up with you later, in the sense that people would know that you're not tarnished. I don't have any kind of controversial thing about me. Very clear. You can look me up, talk to anybody I've worked with, keep it clean, you know, and you will be rewarded later for that,
for sure.
you know. But again, sometimes it's not just about you, it's about your team. If you have people that are not straightforward, they can also tarnish your name. So one of the things we learned as well, you know, building businesses, is that sometimes you have to follow your gut feeling as well about people. Or if you lose trust, even if you can't even quantify it, but the trust is gone, you have to know how to nip things in the bud. You have to be able to say, you know what, something's not right. I don't think we can work together. Because the times I've not followed that nudge, I've paid for it dearly. I'd have to wait for evidence. And when you've been in business long enough, you get a sort of knack for these things. So, you know, if you feel like this guy is giving dodgy vibes, I don't know what it is, I can't prove it. So it's either, even if you're not gonna tell them to go away, you just remove certain access and responsibilities from them until you're sure, you know. So we've gone through a lot, like, and when I say we, in terms of people I work with, my team and etc.
If there's one thing you could say to an aspiring Nigerian entrepreneur, so whoever wants to go into business and is unsure of where to start, what are you going to say?
People only see, you know, when you blow, kind of thing, you know. Only see when you start coming out and you're successful and you're doing stuff. They don't know what you've been through.
I saw a quote that said it takes 10 years to be an overnight success.
Wow, that's actually really accurate.
Yeah.
In most cases, I think that's a good one. Like I said, I've been in Nigeria like 14 years, but people don't really know about me like that outside of the industry until like, around that 10 years. 10 years in whatever industry or whichever place you want to play. Again, this is relevant to the question about what a young entrepreneur is trying to do, is that have your primary, vision, your primary company or business that you want to do, but you can have other side hustles, but you have to know how to make sure that you're not dividing your attention where you're not giving enough to the primary one. So the primary one essentially may even be your work. Maybe you have to work somewhere while you're doing all these other things. Make sure you have something so you can eat, right? And then maybe you need a team that is supporting you with these other ones, so that you're not the one after you finish work at, you know how it is in Nigeria, you finish at 9 p.m. Now I'm going to start your business. I mean, you have to be back at the office by 7 a.m. You know what I mean?
You're 5 to 9 after your 9 to 5.
Thank you. In my early days, I wasn't really a visionary. And a lot of visionaries are not actually the executors. They just have the plan. So when I started with First Master Retailers, the vision came from my now friend, but he didn't know how to execute it. So he had to recruit someone like me. So you can be a visionary and get someone else, like I said about these side hustles, you can get someone to say, I've got this plan. Run with it. I found myself being on both sides, but predominantly more destiny helper. I'm someone that, you got the vision, I love it. I will literally take your vision like it's mine. I'll invest in it. I will nurture it. This thing must work. It must be successful. Be a helper to someone else. Support them. And I think you'll find your way. There's different ways. There's not one way for everyone. There's different ways. Multiple streams of income, multiple businesses, but multiple channels as well to access.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Dr. Samuel,
This was so fun.
spending time with us. One thing that I'm taking away, and I hope our viewers are taking away as well, is that we should just keep our eyes open for, any chances that might come up for us to be able to give what we may have already been building, in the secret or for years. So thank you so much for sharing that. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you give it a thumbs up and make sure you share it with people you know will benefit greatly from it. Until we meet again, my name is Zara, and this is your reminder to dream big, innovate boldly, and be excited to do business in Nigeria.